Hey, today I wanted to share a character from a passion project that I'm working on and also show you guys how to continue doing like character design sheets, I guess. This is after you get done with your main design. Like you draw a picture and you're like, this is the design I want. This is the look that I want them to have. I am happy with this. I like the way their shirt flows. I like their hair. I like their eyes. I think I'm going to be able to redraw this. Like, I am happy with this design. That is this picture for me. And this is going to be your, like, diving point off into the waters of making a fully fledged character. Because while there is a lot of, like, writing that goes into them, you also have to make sure to be telling a story through your art as well, while keeping it simple. Because you want to be able to recreate this picture many times for stories. Because if it's a character super detailed, you're going to lose interest and also get discouraged while trying to make a long-term project like I'm trying to do. So I was really happy with his color palette that I was able to decide here, and I decided like the style of shirt that I wanted and his sideburns. I only had one sheet running around like playing with his design pretty much and just how I wanted him to sit. And this is a photo that I really like of him. I know it has like simple shading and not a lot of like lighting to it, but I'm very happy with how this photo turned out. And that's all you really have to do in order to have a starting point for a character design. Your next step is gonna try to be planning out why you like that character. So I took the sketch that I did and I took the line art and then I'm drawing over it to try to map it out on different layers. So I put like the body on one layer, the head on another, the face details on another, and then the hair on one. And what I'm gonna try to do is like map it out on why I like this. What are the proportions to this character? And you don't have to get it right the first time. I struggled a lot with the chest because I was really confused on how I would make that move. Turns out you can't, which I had to redraw later in the thing. And then once I got the proportions right for me, like how once I got them mapped out, I tried doing a drawing, practicing just using those dimensions to see if it could accurately recreate a character that I wanted to use. And out of all the pictures that I've drawn, this is by far like the closest that came to perfection for me. And it is also, ironically, the one that I took the most time making sure that all of the details were very precise and that I was sticking to that little, like, sketched out geometrical block looking figure down in the corner. I made sure to put the palette down somewhere because I want this to be like a reference point, and also putting like little notes down for myself that the face is supposed to be rounded and it's supposed to have only a slight tilt down, which you will see me make a mistake in the future and have to correct it, which is why it's always good to like have these ref sheets for you. I made sure to tell myself that like there were little 5 hair prongs, bangs, and just to really enjoy trying to make this character and trying to see what I wanted this character to look like and how it felt to draw them. Because if you're not having fun with a passion project, then you shouldn't be doing it. I love drawing this character beyond a shadow of a doubt. He is really fun. Especially once you get down like an accurate design and you're not looking at it being like, man, I don't know why I like this design, and you can just be like, man, I have these dimensions and now I know how to draw this character more accurately. It's a lot better. I did go ahead and redraw like the chest, that way I had a bit more like imagery for like what the rib cage would be, tapered down to like the torso and how his arms would be divided up, and also doing a side profile to see how his hair would connect. Because you want to make sure that you have a good reference for almost all of your characters' turnaround. Like, before you start, like, seriously producing something like a comic, you're gonna want to make sure you have almost every perspective of your character already planned out. That way you're not left in like a blind spot in the middle of like a really important scene and you want these really cool dramatic poses, and then you get there and it looks really wonky because you didn't practice it. You're like, man, this is this character and it has this iconic, for example, like the five bangs and his sideburns, but I don't know why it doesn't look like him. That's probably why. And on that note, just to prove this point, I went ahead and did one last sketch before I did a redraw of the first photo, of just trying to get his, like, a much more general shape down, if that makes sense. So while I could break it down into tons of little boxes, that's going to be really hard to remember. Instead, you want to have these bigger, boxier shapes that make up your character's posing that can help you remember them a lot easier later. One thing that has always been, like, the biggest, like, sore thumb for me when it comes to drawing is drawing a character from behind, which is an issue because I really want to have a lot of dramatic shots in what I want to produce. So this page was specifically a practice for me, specifically trying to just really get down the idea of, like, I want his back to look like this, I want to make sure that the proportions still look good and that they're not funky. And doing this also helps show you that, like, your proportions can be weird, because if you're looking at it from the left side, I didn't see too much wrong with, like, the hands and stuff, but then looking at the other side, I was like, nah, that looks weird, I gotta correct that. It also has you keep in mind that even if you put a hand behind the hip, it doesn't mean that it just disappears out of existence, as much as I wish it would. It just moves into a different plane of view. And you have to keep it in mind when you're animating, because if you put that plane of view into view, and then it's not there, it's gonna look really weird, and it's gonna break the illusion of what you want to create. And with this done, I can finally move on to my final picture. At the beginning of the video, I really liked that first picture, and so my challenge to myself after I had done all this was, can I recreate it but have it be better? Which is, like, you shouldn't compare your art constantly being like, well, I like this out of this and this out of that, because it can get, like, convoluted of just like, well, you use different lighting in this area, and you use different shading for this, and you use different blank and blank and blank in these two different photos. So it can be very bad to do this on a very regular basis, in a very toxic way. But if you're just doing it for self-criticism, or just to see, like, hey, did my ref sheet work out? Can I, using that ref sheet, work through it? And for the most part, yes. In the beginning of this video, of this video specifically, of this character, I did not like how it was going. I played with the eyes a lot in their placement, and you can see me trying to map out where they were going, and even, like, doing, like, these geometry lines for, like, shading and lighting and all that, and I finally got some, like, torso design down that I was comfortable with, like, recreating, and I still wasn't really feeling it, and I couldn't tell why. I could tell that I liked it. I could tell that I was like, I like this pose looks pretty similar, this, like, it has the same shirt, it is the same person, it has the same sideburns and the same hair, and, like, the eyes were accurate, and I could tell that, like, the ears were the same size. I wasn't being able to figure out what happened. And what I was able to figure out by flipping back in between the two, and this is why your references are important, is because his necklace was gone and his face was tapered wrong. While it does look really close to what he was, what it is that the angle is at a more, like, wide angle as you get further up. He's supposed to have a very straight, boxy face type. That's what this character is supposed to be, a very boxy person. He's not supposed to be lean by any stretch of the word. Like, there is no point where I want him to look like he's, like, has that really tapered anime face. While I can draw that, that's not what I want this character to look like. So after I had done all of this shading and lighting, I had to completely start this photo over. And that is okay. There's nothing wrong with having to take a piece of art that you've drawn and be like, while this is okay, this is not what I want. You should never put yourself down, because this photo was good, but it was not what I was looking for. And that's something very important with self-criticism when it comes to art and making a character sheet, because you're going to have to do it a lot if you want to improve. You have to tell yourself, like, hey, while this is good, while I like these certain aspects of art, I would like to improve in these, versus being like, I hate my art, I don't like how this looks dumb, this looks stupid, because, like, that's how a lot of younger artists talk to themselves, and I know for me, that's absolutely how I talk to myself as well. And that's not something you want to be doing. If you want to continue to have the passion that you have for art, then you want to make sure that you're keeping interest in it. Like, encouraging yourself even if somebody else isn't there to encourage you. If you are not selling your art to yourself, then it's going to be a lot harder to sell your art to somebody else. Which is why I wanted to recorrect it, because normally I'd have to take a step away from the computer and like my drawing tablet and be like, I can't. I have to completely restart, a different photo, a different thing, maybe a different pose. But I wanted to showcase that it can improve, even if it just is a small difference. It can mean the world when it comes down to making a character sheet. And that if this was in a show, people would look at that and look at it like the angel dust freeze frames in Hazbin Hotel. And it wouldn't be pretty. You want to show love to your art, though. If you show love to your art and, like, yourself as you're drawing, then you will always be able to grow. Obviously, don't be overconfident of just, like, my art's the best. It could never be, there's nothing wrong with it, ever, in the history of ever. There's always some way to improve. And you can be happy with your art, and your art can still have mistakes, because that's where my art's at. My art is obviously not perfect. I don't go for hyperrealism, I don't go even for realism. I'm in between of, like, anime but stylized but cartoon. There's a lot of conflicting things, but because it's my style and I'm happy with it, that's why I'm good with it. So yeah. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. All of these pictures will be up on my Instagram, and I hope you have a lovely day.